Hi, and welcome to the fourth episode of SteamLUG Cast. I am Cheese. With me, I have Swordfisher.
Hello.
John.
Hey, everyone.
Del.
Hello.
And Yako.
Salutations.
So, Del and Yako are from Screwy Lightbulb. They're going to be chatting with us in a little bit about the Maker's Eden and other bits and pieces that they do. But first, we might have a bit of a chat with John and Sword about how things have been going since last time. How are you guys?
Pretty chill.
Yeah, I'm pretty fine. Pretty hung up at work, though.
Yeah.
And outside of work, the GitHub's busy as hell at the moment, just because Dota 2's kind of in testing, but other than that, all good.
+1.
Alright. Del and Yako, welcome. Tell us a little bit about Screwy Lightbulb. And what do you guys do? Where you guys come from?
Screwy Lightbulb has been kind of around for a while, but hasn't actually produced anything. I've mostly been making, I've been making games for a long time, but it's mostly been while I was working in advertising. So it was, advergaming, cheesy things intended to sell products. So this is really the first time we're trying to put out commercial product, so we're keeping it small and realistic, and that's basically the gist of it.
You guys have the Maker's Eden in the middle of a crowdfunding campaign at the moment, and you've just released your an update to the demo. You want to talk a little bit about the kind of reception that you've got from that?
Yeah, it's been absolutely awesome. Considering we're making a sort of niche game and we're doing it a little bit differently with the whole motion comic thing. And we posted it on Greenlight to see what the response there would be. We weren't expecting it to be great. We've heard about lots of trolley comments and just generally nasty people on Greenlight. So we thought, we're making something kind of niche and a little bit different, and they're just going to hate it on Greenlight. We're going to get booed and hissed off stage. And the comments have been amazing, just like, wow. Really, really, really favourable response to the demo too. We've had people playing it who don't ordinarily pick up point-and-click games, don't usually play that genre, and they've given it a go and just love it. And on the flip side, we have people who are really, really old hats at playing point-and-clicks, and it's their thing, and also really like it.
Yeah, and the demo itself was rushed out the door, kinda, because we were in the middle of developing it, and there's a lot of the underlying logic systems that are kind of incomplete. But it's been nice to see it running on people's systems as well, and getting feedback on what works and what doesn't work and so on. And yeah, it definitely has led to us thinking maybe we should get more testers on board when we, really get into the development of it. Of the rest of the thing.
No, I played the demo and thought it was pretty impressive. I mean, obviously it's still rough, and it's a sort of proof of concept prototypey type thing, but it shows a lot of promise. I'm pretty impressed. You played it as well, John. What did you think?
I think you've nailed the motion comic side of it particularly well. I also really like the tilt that you've got on each level as you pan around with your cursor. Technically, you've got everything there. I'm looking forward to seeing how the story goes.
Yay!
Yeah, the tilting effect isn't. It's not. I mean, I've seen it used before. It's. I mean, it's not a new thing. I've seen it used to very good effect in one or two other games in the past. So we're borrowing a bit there from somebody else. But hey, if it works.
Killzone 2 is probably the one I can think of straight away. The loading screens, you'd wiggle your controller and everything would pan around.
Most first-person shooters have a similar sort of motif going.
Oh yeah, for the HUD and that sort of thing. And menus.
Actually, I meant just to look around, but yeah. I think Telltale of their past couple of games, the Jurassic Park ones and the Walking Dead ones, have had a bit of that kind of fairly static viewport, which moves a little as you move the mouse around.
Yeah, the whole idea with the 3D was just because we're essentially making a slideshow style game, and those very often make you feel quite detached from the environment, because usually the slideshow style games are 3D rendered, so even with the fully 3D rendered environments you still feel kind of detached So I think that the main idea with introducing the gimmick was just to make you feel a little bit more like you are there rather than looking at a picture of there.
So as far as story goes, what kind of and plot, what kind of inspirations did you guys have for the directions that you're taking the Maker's Eden in?
It's difficult to decide what one can say and what cannot say. A lot of the underlying things that you'll experience during the story are very much just based on like everyday real world issues. It is wrapped in this sci-fi plot, but it's not about the science fiction. It's about the other things going on. It does, on the surface, seem to rely on a lot of common tropes, but we are, messy. We play with the tropes a little bit as it goes along, but anything too much would be spoilery.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to come off as being pretentious or anything, but we're hoping we've got something in there that'll sort of make people think a bit about what's going on, social commentary type things. Like Yaku said, it's based in unspecified time and place in the future, sci-fi-ish, but that's kind of irrelevant. I mean, you could take the things that are happening in the story and apply them to other situations and infer from them what you will. It's just, about people and how people respond to things and stuff. But sci-fi because we love sci-fi, and noir because we love noir.
And flying cars, geez.
And flying motorbikes.
Yes, and all the cool things.
How about as far as gameplay mechanics go, what sort of inspirations have you had there?
It's kind of strange, but it plays a lot. It feels a lot like a Twine game with graphics. If you feel about if you look at it, but that was not really the intention. The intention was purely just first-person slideshow style adventure game. I could cite the first two Mists as an example, but it's not a great example because Mist is very heavily puzzle-oriented, whereas we lean slightly away from the puzzles and more towards just driving the story forward.
You guys use Linux a bit yourselves?
I do the day job. I use it exclusively. At home I would, but right now, unfortunately, because I'm using Unity to develop on, and they do not have a Linux version of their IDE, so sadly I'm in Windows land a bit more than I would ordinarily be.
We both dual boot. I'm guilty now. I tend to use Windows more just because I do more gaming that's on Windows. I like doing things in Linux, like my writing. It's more of a sort of clean environment for me. I like doing that stuff over there. And I'm trying to sort of gradually shift myself over to gaming on Linux. But I'm a big World of Warcraft player, which sort of ran under Wine but had some issues with other stuff. And I'm currently playing Cube World. I have no idea how it runs under Wine, if at all. But currently that's just Windows. I don't think there's even Mac out for it yet. But I've got my mum using Linux. In her 50s, I told her to buy a little Linux netbook, and she bought one and she loves it, and she's now trying to convert all her friends over to Linux. So bonus points for me there, I think.
Awesome.
Yes.
I actually tried to convert my parents to use Linux, and their biggest complaint was the Solitaire game was too easy.
Huh.
Jeez.
My Mim just bought her mum a laptop, and she's now running Fedora on that, and apparently that's going well, so that's positive.
I was reading. I think it was on the KDE site or something. They converted some girls' school. I think it's in the UK, over to Linux. And one of the comments on there was interesting, where they were saying that the younger students adapted to it quite easily because they just accepted it as normal, whereas the older students had more difficulty with it. And so I think it gives credence to the whole issue that what people call intuitive is learned. And older people, some people might just be more used to Windows, and people who perhaps are less computer literate might actually take to Linux a lot easier.
I think when people talk about accessibility of operating systems, they really don't take into consideration how intuitive something might be for somebody who doesn't have any prior experience. It'd be really interesting to do some studies of prominent Linux-based window managers versus Mac OS and Windows.
My mum was a Windows user for years, both at work. She's a technician in a pharmacy, so she uses it for like pharmacological application thingies, processing prescriptions and stuff, but also at home for general home use like photos and word processing and whatever. But I mean, she's used computers since I was born, and we had a computer, and she used to program stuff for me. But very, very Windows. And she took to Linux really quickly, especially the package manager, and sees how much easier it is to find software that works and to install it easily and stuff. And I think, in my experience, the people who don't think Linux is user-friendly are people who haven't tried a Linux distro for 10 years or more and think it's all about still using the console to do stuff. It's as user-friendly, if not more user-friendly than Windows, I think.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I'm giving Sword and John some room to ask questions so that I'm not dominating stuff.
I'm just trying to keep up with the chat and everything.
Well, at least our cat has stopped talking now.
Yeah.
So, you want to talk a little bit about the other people that you've got involved with Screwy Lightbulb at the moment?
Sure. We're down in, me and Jaco live together, we're down in South Africa. I'm Welsh, as you may be able to tell from the username. But we run a Minecraft community, and a couple of players on our server, 3 of them actually, 3 players on our server are from George, which is about 5 hours drive away from us. And we drove out there to visit them and say hi one day, and one of them, their son Josh, is getting into digital art, and saw his stuff on DeviantArt around the same time that Jaco wanted to do a screen test for Maker's Eden project. So I said, hey, Josh is doing some really, really awesome concept art with sort of sci-fi stuff going on. Maybe he can do it. So we roped him in. He's 17. I think he's 17. He's just finishing school. So he's really, I mean, he produces awesome, awesome art anyway. But when I realized he's like, wow, he's 17 doing this stuff, it was just pretty mind-blowing. So I asked him, and he was really keen to be involved, and checked with his folks, and they were all for it and everything. So he's in on it. And the musician is the other guy. He's in America. He's somebody I know from the Starbound community, I think. When Starbound started up, I helped get their forums together with adminning the community and setting up a team of moderators and stuff, and made friends with some people over there. And Ben B Fusion was one of the community members, and when he saw that I make YouTube videos, he linked me his Bandcamp page. He makes ambient music, and said, if you ever want ambient music for background in any of your time lapses or stuff, then feel free to use my music. So I knew he did ambient stuff, and when we decided to go ahead with Maker's Eden and knew we'd need a musician, I went and had another listen to his page and thought, yeah, he'd be really great, because we want really easy listening ambient background music that's good, but is not like epic and draws your attention away from the game, but is still really, really pleasant to listen to. And I thought he'd be a really good fit, so we told him what we wanted and asked him for some little concept sample, and he came up with some really, really awesome stuff, and so now he's on board too. That's it, there's just the 4 of us.
I think as far as stuff that they're bringing goes, the art style is fantastic. I'm really impressed, and the music as well is nice.
Yeah, really, really good feedback for both of those. We have tons of people saying they love the music and they love the artwork, and I'm pretty sure a significant number of the donations we've had to Indiegogo and the upvotes on Steam Greenlight have been from people backing for the art and people backing for the music, which is really cool.
I think it's worth giving a shout out to Kaz.
Oh, Kaz, of course, yeah. Yeah, Kaz is, again, from our Minecraft community. He's the boyfriend of one of our admins, and they both work as animators. Well, she doesn't, but she has worked as an animator, and he's really into gaming. Well, they're both really into gaming, and offered to do a trailer for us. So he did the first teaser trailer for us, and he just did our new official trailer. So yeah, and he's really cool, really talented, and knocks his stuff out really quickly.
As you mentioned earlier, you're using Unity to provide cross-platform support. How do you find its ability to publish on all 3 major desktop platforms compares to other stuff that you've done in the past?
Well, okay, so far on the Linux side, the only issue I've run into, the 2 issues I've run into. First is just probably a bug on my side, the fact that it's not hiding the system cursor in the same way that it does on Windows. But the other thing they haven't done, which I believe they are introducing some fixes for, is a launcher that lets you pick the screen resolution. So you pretty much have to make your own launcher or make the screen resolution configuration in-game. Whereas on Windows, you get to choose a screen resolution when you launch the game. So those were the only issues I've run into. But as far as compatibility of the overall compatibility and performance goes, it's quite flawless. I mean, it's literally one click and it compiles on the relevant platform. I mean, I even yesterday, for the first time, I tried to to build it for Android, and that went without a hitch also.
So has that been announced yet? Is this announcing the Android port?
No. Well, it was always kind of an idea to do that, but we haven't committed to it because obviously it would require some work. Some usability work would be required. That little mouse cursor we got floating around is just not adequate, and the text is way too small, even on a big tablet. One needs tiny fingers to interact with the game. So we haven't officially committed to it, but it's starting to look like it will be actually quite a fairly painless thing to do the Android port. We had a weird request though. I don't even know if we're allowed to say this. The Wii U guy.
We have a Facebook page, and there was nothing in the message about NDAs and secrecy and whatever, so I don't know, but we have a Facebook page, and we got a message on there yesterday for somebody in the Wii U community saying, had a look at your game, really think it would work well on the Wii U system. Have you thought about porting, and we'd give you all the help you need, and use our community links and stuff, and you can even use it. I mean, sure, we can find a use for the second screen. So,
Yeah, I don't know if this person even looked at the game, because I don't see this working on a television. Not with the amount of reading required. But anyway, it's just interesting. I mean, we're getting communications like that from people.
Going back to Android, one of the funny thing is when we started just before I think actually we started the Indiegogo campaign, we listed all our stretch goals for just in case we were going to get enough to consider stretch goals, and one of them was if we reached the licensing fees and everything, then we'd do Android and iOS. And it was just before going live that Unity dropped the fees. I think all we'd need now is to pay the store fees, whatever they are, which is quite cheap, but yeah, I mean, it's always been something we'd like to do, and I think a point and click like that would work really nicely on a phone or a tablet. It's really nice art and stuff, and nice music. It'd be cool to play on the train with headphones on and stuff. I think it would work nice.
Yeah. So the campaign's got 7 days left on it.
Yeah.
So if anybody's keen, go and give them a vote on Greenlight. Throw some dollars at them.
Mm-hmm.
Fingers crossed that it makes it. I'm very, very much looking forward to checking out the game.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you kindly.
Thanks for joining us, guys. You're more than welcome to hang around and chat with us as we move through the rest of the show. But it's
sure.
been great to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right, enjoy the rest of it.
Yeah, thanks.
And you can follow those guys on Twitter at Welsh Pixie and Warpgate9, and for their company, it's Screwy Lightbulb.
Okay, should we go forward with the SteamLUG community stuff? On the 29th, we have Counter-Strike Source. Was amazingly fun, and apparently I'm getting too good at Counter-Strike Source, and I died once, so I had to leave the game in shame. On the 6th, we had Left 4 Dead 2, which I heard was went on for quite a while.
Yeah, I had Game Club running at the same time, and when I came back a couple of hours later, it was still going. And when I signed off, it was like 6 hours after the start of the event, and people were still playing survival games.
We started with versus modes. I managed to play 3 before I needed to take a break, but it was still going on about 2 hours after that. So a very lengthy gaming session for the community, which is brilliant.
It was definitely a learning experience for a lot of people who hadn't played versus before, because obviously the infected team has very different mechanics.
Well, I'm happy to see that the events goes on for a bit longer than they're planned to. Then it gives people some time to join in if they don't have time to meet up at the starting time.
Yeah, and when we started, we had I think we overflowed into a second server, so we had something close to 16 people, all yammering to try and play Left 4 Dead at the same time. I know maybe the second server was full.
Yeah.
The thing about Infected, though, is that it really requires a lot more synergy and teamwork than the survivors do for effective gameplay.
So on the 10th, we have had Serious Sam 3, a co-op session again.
How'd that go?
Oh, quite fun, actually. I don't know how long you played, John. I quit a bit early.
I think we had 2 community members play from start to finish. I quit 60% into it, so 3 or 4 hours, and I think everyone had really good fun. It's just when you've got waves and waves of enemies and you don't have that many players left, those last few chapters are just a kick in the butt.
Yeah. So for the upcoming events, tomorrow on the 13th we have Team Fortress 2, which is our usual deal, fortnightly playthrough of Team Fortress 2, which everyone is invited to join.
Be fun.
Yeah, even non-Linux users if you want, if you can bear the shame. And I also promised someone at Valve to gather some people for a Dota 2 testing crew. So I've put up 3 events this coming week, the 14th, the 16th, and the 18th. So we can go on a Dota 2 bug hunt.
This will be fun.
For those where Dota works.
Yeah. It's still early days.
It's pretty much alpha, so they have fixed quite a few bugs already in the first few days. So yeah, everyone enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, I had no problems, so it's the first time I never had any problems with anything. On the 17th we have a Killing Floor, which is usually a co-op session. I don't even know if you can play it non-co-op. The 20th we have Half-Life 2, deathmatch.
Toilets, yay!
Yeah, some toilet throwing. And again on the 27th we have Left 4 Dead 2. And
mention the special event.
And
yeah, we have a bit special event lined up for us on the 2nd of August. That's the creators of Trine 2 will join us.
That'll be Frozen Bite.
Yeah.
And they're going to be in games that Swordfisher, John, and I are in, and you guys can join and quit, and join and quit, and hopefully everyone will get a chance to play along with them. Or people can just play their own co-op games and chat and mumble. We're gonna try and cover all bases there.
And for everyone who wants to play with me, I'm not the guy who reads text, so I just click. And so if you want to enjoy the game, you're not going to play with me.
We also have Julius from Frozen Bite will be joining us for the next cast episode, so that'll be good as well.
Cool. That was the events. I've taken the liberty of putting up some more community servers for us. They're all based in Denmark. I've put up some Gold Source vanilla servers because there aren't any online really left anymore.
Yay, Ricochet.
Yeah, amongst others. We got Condition Zero, Team Fortress Classic, Day of Defeat, Ricochet, Deathmatch Classic, and the old Counter-Strike 1.6. Yeah, that's pretty epic.
Yeah, we should schedule some events around those as well.
I wonder who does that.
I think I know a guy. I'll talk to him.
Oh, cool.
So in other community stuff, we have the 7-day first-person shooter challenge happening next month, and a few people have expressed interest in participating in that. So I've made a thread to grab people's names, and we'll see if we've got enough people to put together a SteamLUG team. That should be pretty cool. There's potential there to either make something from scratch or use some existing open source frameworks or tools. Maybe we could look at using the Source SDK base if we wanted. There's certainly a lot of opportunities there to do something interesting. Either of you guys thinking of participating?
Well, I never really can contribute with anything except the breaking stuff. So if you need something broken, I can do that.
Yeah, bug testing's always helpful.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at QA testing, I reckon. I'm not so good at throwing down my own code.
But there are lots of different bits and pieces that go into making a game. It's not all programming. There's art and making sounds and making music and writing stuff and even being able to give feedback is contributing a little bit. And there are certainly, it would be difficult for somebody to not have anything they could bring. I mean, you can have too many chefs in the kitchen, but be good to see everybody who was interested feeling like they could have a go.
We could make it in Silverlight with DRM in a Flash wrapper using Java
In PHP.
on a printer.
Oh, that joke's never going to die, is
In
it?
space.
Yeah.
Right, so let's jump onto Steam news. The latest survey got published.
As far as Linux stuff goes, it looks like things are kind of down a little bit for most of the distros aside from Linux Mint 15. But they're all like, I think the biggest drop is 0.06%. And again, that's nothing. It's negligible. So we can call that holding steady.
Pretty much.
Looks like the biggest increase in any platform was macOS 10.8.4 jumping up by 0.73%, and not even 1 whole percent point jump is sort of indicates that there's not a huge amount of change going on at the moment.
I imagine that's going to jump a little quicker in the next month, just because Dota 2 requires everyone on 10.8.7 maybe.
Yeah, okay, it will be very interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
It's highly likely. We saw that with the other releases too.
So I mentioned it earlier, the GitHub has been pretty busy. Overnight, 100 or 200 new bugs appear. Why? Because Dota 2 test has just gone live for Linux and Mac. And it's not that it's full of bugs, it's just... Let's be fair, an awful lot of people approaching GitHub haven't approached bug trackers before. So they'll post their issue without particularly reading any existing bugs. So I've been busy closing duplicates all over the place. Don't feel bad. It happens to the best of us. So there's been no sort of major bugs closed in the past fortnight. But yeah, that's pretty much a sum of GitHub activity.
Yeah, and that kind of thing's kind of really normal to expect when you're bringing a game with a fairly significant user base across to that sort of thing.
Yeah, certainly. Quite a few people, they're surprised at Dota 2 not working with their regular accounts and stuff like this. And it's just some people aren't used to the experience of, either beta testing or reporting, something's happened and they don't tell you, what they did to cause it. They just, it's crashed. This is my computer. And you think, well, I need a bit more than that, Have you tried doing the same thing again, to get a reproducible list of what caused the thing? Sometimes people haven't updated their software, and there are an awful lot of little things that make an awful lot more bug reports than need to be. But after the initial couple of days, everything dies down to the sort of standard stuff. The performance is low. I'm hitting this bug that about 50 other people have already hit and already +1'd all over the place.
Yeah. It would be kind of neat if GitHub gave you the ability to have some kind of click-through gate before submitting an issue, where you could offer some guidelines for issue submission.
Yeah, Bugzilla's got this really handy feature that you put in the title of your bug, and it will search the bug database for similar titles that could possibly include your issue. And that prevents an awful lot of duplicates, and I think GitHub could really do with something like that.
I mean, it's still really positive to have a public bug tracker like this. I think the community and Valve are both still finding their feet with how best to present it and make it work.
I think just GitHub was the easiest thing to do right now. Instead of going out, setting up a Bugzilla and whatnot, just use an existing service that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I can understand why they did it. It's probably the most popular bug tracker at the moment. If they'd have done it a couple of years ago, maybe they would have used SourceForge, we never know.
Wow.
I think I probably covered this in the first episode, but they did ask for bug tracking tools that they could host, and I particularly suggested Bugzilla. I know an awful lot of people do dislike it, but I've used it plenty with Mozilla and other projects that I'm happier with that than Jira or GitHub, and even Gitorious.
We use Track for Neverball.
I used Track with Haiku, and I had to write a couple of plugins for them to make it actually useful, and I really didn't like it to maintain. It's an okay bug tracker, I reckon, as an end user.
I don't know how well it scales, though. Neverball's pretty small as far as our development community goes. But so moving on, Left 4 Dead 2 is out of beta and into beta. For anybody who's kind of confused by that, the version of Left 4 Dead 2 which we previously had was sort of the test bed for new Left 4 Dead features, and it was only playable with people who had the other TF2 beta. This was like the Left 4 Dead 2 beta. This was like the TF2 beta and like the new Dota test, where it's kind of this kind of experimental area for new stuff. But now we have the release version, or a beta of the release version. So now we can play with people who have the normal client on Windows and Mac, and this is one step closer to having cross-platform Left 4 Dead 2. It doesn't seem like many bugs have been fixed at the moment. We still don't have voice chat. We still have mouse escaping issues, and people are still having a few crashes here and there. But on the whole, I think that giving us access to the normal version will certainly make it easier for us to interact with the rest of the Left 4 Dead 2 community.
Yeah, to be fair to Valve, I think they've got a small team that are going through each game and just iterating to get it to a level that it can work and they can solicit more bugs. And I mean, I mentioned one of the mouse grabbing issue earlier to someone I know, and they just hadn't come across it yet because they've been busy on Dota. So it's something that's definitely going to get swept through before it gets out of beta, but that still might be a while, sadly.
I'm just happy to be able to play with the few friends I have who use Windows.
Oh, certainly.
You have friends who use Windows?
Yeah, I use the term friends very loosely.
Yeah, that's hard. I'm just kidding.
Moving on to gaming stuff, general Linux gaming news. What have you guys been playing lately?
Well, today I was playing Secret of the Magic Crystals.
Tell me more.
Yes, it's a horse game.
What do you mean by a horse game?
Well, you can stroke your horse, and you can make shoes for your horse.
I'm getting chills.
Yeah, it's actually a unicorn when you get it up to high enough level. When you stroke it, if your horse is sad, you have to stroke it with a brush, so it shimmers.
Yeah.
I believe it's called a curry comb.
Ooh, that's a neat name.
Yeah. So my horse is high enough level now, so I have won first place trophies in all the tracks. So I'm pretty proud of my horse. And then there's some
awesome.
Yeah, some questing. You can there's like Guitar Hero, a keyboard hero. When you click the left and right and whatnot buttons, there's the same kind of style in some of the tracks you can play. So you have to level up by clicking up and down, left, right on the right time, and then you make a quest where it does it automatically. That's pretty fun.
How about you, John? What have you been playing?
I was just checking because I've actually completely forgotten. I've just been so busy.
I like that the new Steam profile stuff doesn't show you as much detail on what you've been playing over the last couple of weeks as it used to.
It is much harder to find data. I've had Dota 2 up. I've just been watching matches because I think I'm going to have a stab at playing it, but I've been watching YouTube videos, and the lingo that everyone uses just confuses the hell out of me.
That's cool.
Yeah, I played some Dota too. Yeah, I never get these kind of games. I'm more of a horsey kind of guy.
This is why you were so excited about hay bales in Minecraft.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, I've spectated a couple of Dota 2 games when it was only available under Wine, and there's a lot going on. I found it kind of difficult to follow, and I felt like the camera was way more zoomed in than I was comfortable with, at least for spectating.
I think they lock the viewing angle.
Oh.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so in the last week, Serious Sam 3. We all know that because I played co-op with Swordfisher and the rest. Left 4 Dead 2, actually. I played through all the single-player campaigns because I've never played the story for Left 4 Dead 2, so I thought, I'll catch up and actually know their backstory. But that's me for the last fortnight.
I looked at my Steam list and realised that I hadn't played anything for myself in about a month or something. So the other night I took off a couple of hours and played Faster Than Light and played with the stealth ship and got right up to the final boss. It was pretty sweet.
Are there any horses in Faster Than Light?
There are these kind of 6-legged creatures that you can come across on an alien planet, which you can choose to either try and take on board to sell as stuff. You can try and communicate with. Does that count?
Can you stroke them?
Yeah, sure.
Can you feed them with water and hay?
No. I think if you take them on board, there's a risk that they might go crazy and kill your crew. And if you try and communicate with them, they eventually lead you to some cool stuff.
I think that game is too violent for me.
It's probable. As far as news goes, I mean the really big thing lately has been the Crytek Linux developer job ad.
Yeah, this is really interesting, isn't it?
I don't want to say that I'm hugely surprised. It doesn't feel like it came out of left field, but it's really good to see. It's really positive.
But is it for the game engine or servers?
It specifically says that they're after somebody to work on the Linux version of the 3D engine.
Okay.
As Dan Brobro has mentioned in the chat there were hints of this earlier when the Star Citizen crowdfunding campaign was running, and they'd been talking with Crytek about Linux support because Star Citizen had fairly strong Linux user response.
Yeah.
It was positive to see that something is potentially going to come from that. A week and a bit ago, I think, it might be 2 weeks now, there was a live cast where people were asking the Star Citizen team questions on Twitch. Somebody asked about Linux and Mac support. Robert said that there was something that they couldn't announce yet, which would be good news for Mac and Linux gamers, and I assume that this is it.
There's actually a relevant link back to the previous cast. Nexuiz uses CryEngine 3, so all you Xonotic fans, maybe it could come back.
It's worth recognizing that what is now called Nexuiz is in no way reminiscent of what Nexuiz was. It's an entirely different and unrelated game.
Just linking it back to the other episode.
Oh yeah, that's cool. It would be very interesting to see what would happen if that made it back to Linux and see how the community responded. But yeah, so that's really exciting. If there's anybody in the SteamLUG community who's thinking of applying, let us know. We'd be kind of keen to chat about what kind of experiences you have with the application process, and if you get it, obviously we'd also be keen to talk about that. Also, in the past fortnight, we've had the Humble Weekly sale for Two Tribes, which includes a Linux debut for Rush, which is their sort of I don't know, how do you describe Rush?
I keep thinking of a PlayStation 1 game that it reminds me of with a beach ball, but it's a puzzle platformer with Rubik's Cubian. It's hard to describe, isn't it?
It's sort of a strategic thing where you lay down the path that you want the cube to travel in, and if you get it right, you win, and if you don't get it right, the block falls off the edge of the level and you get to try again. But it's pretty addictive. Levels are all kind of fun, and it's got a good learning curve on it. I really liked it. I started playing it under wine ages ago, and really looking forward to getting back into it again. Something interesting that I noticed about the weekly sale. I mean, the average payment was, I think, was under $3, and that was kind of, we often look at the weekly sales and see that they aren't doing as well or might not be as profitable. But the difference between the average price and the separate value price, if you want to look at the separate value price, is about the same as the ebook bundle at the moment, which we all look at and say, oh, that's got a really high average. Even though they've got fewer people, it feels like the weekly sales for developers are, if you want to look at just profitability from that kind of perspective, which is obviously not the point, they do seem to be fairly profitable like that. So I thought that was really interesting to observe. I might write an article about it.
Yep, and I skipped the Humble weekly sale for 2 Tribes and just bought Rush from Steam. I thought I already own the other games, and I just thought, well, I don't need to buy.
Yeah, nice.
I don't know. Whenever I buy a Humble bundle, I tend to be overly generous, and I was feeling a bit cheap with the Steam sale coming up, honestly. So I just thought, well, I'll just pick up Rush on its own.
Yeah,
But it has DRM. Oh no!
yeah, getting the DRM free versions with the Humble Bundle is definitely a plus for me. Another thing worth mentioning there is that if anybody's not aware, I inadvertently subjected 2 Tribes to a deluge of requests for Linux support when they responded to a tweet with what was it?
I remember that, yeah.
If there's enough demand or something like that, and a couple hours later they sent out a tweet going, "Oh, please, we understand. Please stop." But I've talked to them since then and offered to help them with reaching out to the community and stuff, and I haven't put myself in bad books there, which is nice. But they also, in conversations following the start of the 2 Tribes weekly sale, they mentioned that they would definitely like to get Tokitori 2 onto Linux, and they also talked about plans for getting the rest of their catalogue up to Steam as well. We're just not sure on time frame for that at the moment. How about you, Dill and Yako? You guys played any of the 2 Tribes games?
I have the first Tokitori twice, I believe. Once it was included in the Frozen Byte bundle, and the second time it showed up in one of the Android bundles. So yeah, I've played that one on 2 platforms.
It's really interesting to look at the evolution that Tokitori has gone through over time. I mean, the first iteration of the game was for Game Boy. It was a very different beast to what Tokitori on Steam ended up being. Also, last week or the end of the week before, the Oculus Rift official SDK got Linux support, and I did a sort of first impressions video. I've had my Rift for must be a couple of months now, and I've been playing around with it a little bit here and there. But I thought that coinciding with the official SDK getting Linux support was a good point in time to do something, and I take a bit of a look at what free software APIs and libraries there are for interacting with it, and have a bit of a look at some of the demos and bits and pieces are around. Do a bit of a look at the hardware as well, and what makes it interesting compared to other head-mounted displays I've played with previously. So if anybody's interested, feel free to check that out.
Right, so last time we were talking about Natural Selection 2, and we were wondering if it was ever actually going to be announced that it's coming to Linux, and they published 2 screenshots on their website, didn't they?
Yes, that was pretty exciting. It was last time when we mentioned it, GamingOnLinux.com had put an article out saying that there was going to be an announcement within a week or something, and the big announcement that the Natural Selection 2 guys pushed out around that time was talking about there was a new content update with a female character, which is very exciting, but not quite Linux support. And it was another week or so before we got to see those Linux screenshots.
Huzzah for the female soldier, though. She was awesome.
Yeah, it's really nice to see something that's not overly sexualized.
Yep.
the point of silliness.
And the comments, of course, were hilarious.
Yeah. Internet.
Yeah.
But at least as far as the people that I know and interact with, everybody had been, very firmly recognizing that it was, really positive portrayal of a female character.
Yes. Yeah, and the reception overall to it was really, really great.
Yeah. Also, recently, Desira announced that they were being purchased by Linden Lab, the people who make Second Life, and what this is going to mean for Desira moving forwards for anybody who uses it. It's not very clear. Sounds like they're still ironing out how things are gonna work now. I've got no idea whether or not people are going to be leaving Desira or whether we're going to be seeing new faces there. I hope we will. There's a strong possibility we'll be seeing new faces. It's just not very clear what's going to happen there, but definitely interesting news for not only for Desira users, but also those of us who've contributed to the Desirium open source client.
It must have been a few months ago. SteamDB leaked Second Life actually being listed coming to Steam, and Linden Labs were they were hush-hush about it. I mean, they sort of said something's coming. But I do find it interesting that they've then bought Desira. I wonder if they've had issues trying to get on Steam, and this could be something they're going to do.
That's kind of an interesting perspective. I don't know. Everything seems very grey at the moment. I'd like to hope that things become clear soon, but it could be a long time before we hear any kind of official announcement.
I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic. They've been pretty good supporting all the three main platforms. They're sort of okay with open source, so I think Desira's not a bad fit for them. As
a member of the Desirium development community, my perspective is kind of more about how they're going to treat that. I think it's definitely. I doubt there will be any negative aspects at all for just Desirium users, but we're kind of anxious at the moment about knowing what this is going to mean for the client. Also, amusing to note that in addition to running the largest Steam community group on Steam, I also contribute to the Desirium client and when I can.
You're just good all round, Jeez. That's why we love you. Well, like you.
Speak for yourself.
So should we move on to crowdfunding then?
Oh, apparently LurkWorks has been fully funded.
Yes, it is.
Oh my god, LurkWorks have a further. Maybe.
Right, so we had a little conversation about this a few casts ago. The Double Fine Adventure has been delayed into the next year.
Yeah, I kind of, people are hyping this up, much like they did the Planetary Annihilation thing, I think, where people see something that's not quite there. I mean, there were always plans to have Steam exclusivity for a pre-release version, which is what Steam Early Access is. So it doesn't really feel like anything's changed here, as far as the DFA goes.
I think it's just typical news, trying to find something to fill their time with, that's all.
Crowdfunding campaign that caught my eye last week was Lacuna Passage, which is this kind of first-person survival mystery sort of thing where you play a member of a landing mission on Mars and everybody else has died, and that's kind of looks really atmospheric and very lonely. Yeah, kind of looks really nice. Did you guys have a chance to check that out at all?
Yeah.
It doesn't have any horses. You're not interested.
Yeah, no horses on Mars. No, it looks like a pretty niche game. So it's probably not something for me, but I'll try to give it a go when there's a demo available.
It looks like it's a slightly less scary Amnesia in space.
That's going to go well. All those space horror films, can't stand them, they're scary.
We watched, I think is it Event Horizon? It's the one with Sam Neill?
Oh yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
We watched that. It's the silliest movie ever.
I like that movie.
Was it meant to be scary? Was it meant to be proper horror? Because I couldn't stop laughing.
Oh, we watched it recently, and it didn't have the same impact it did when I first watched it. And when I first watched it, I found it kind of a little bit psychologically scary, I guess. But yeah, I watched it with Yaku recently, and he was very like, eh.
It's actually quite a well-lauded film, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I don't find it that scary, and
maybe we're a bit more desensitized to that kind of thing now, and stuff is just not as scary as it used to be.
Oh yes.
I think that at any age, when there's meant to be this kind of all of your worst nightmares type sequence of rapidly flashing images, and there's a bowl of maggots there, I mean, how can you not laugh at that stuff?
Yeah. Hellraiser was quite a few years before that, wasn't it? And that's pretty scary, I think.
Hellraiser is awesome. How did we go from from Mars to scary movies?
Well, I said that Mars was kind of like Amnesia in space. Mars? I said that Lacuna Passage looked like it might be sort of Amnesia style, but slightly less scary.
Ah. Somebody said Grand Theft Auto, and I think might be a bad Grand Theft Auto version if you only have one card to steal.
Did anyone manage to play Waking Mars that I mentioned last cast?
I have played a tiny bit of it, and it looks like fun.
Because that's... Imagine if this game was cut into 2D, and then didn't have the horror. That would be it.
Waking Mars isn't first person, though.
Oh.
But it does have jetpacks, so...
It does. That and Capsized both have jetpacks and are very awesome.
We should put jetpacks in our game.
Do it.
Yep.
Or have
sorted
jetpacking horses on Mars.
Actually, your game, that probe thing, totally has a jetpack in it.
Yeah, you use it to send. Yeah, I guess that's kind of like a jetpack. There's no horses though, and we fail there.
Yeah, you need to make android horses or something.
Yeah.
We entered Ludum Dare the previous Ludum Dare, or Ludum Dare, or Ludum Dare. And our last game had a jetpack in, had a jester with a jetpack and a gravity gun. I think that was a pretty cool game.
Is that actually linked on the Ludum Dare website? Because I can probably put that in the show notes if you want.
Should be on there somewhere, yeah. It was submitted and everything.
I think it's called Jetpack Jester.
Sure, we made it with our Minecraft community, which I think is pretty cool. We had our community build all the game assets in Minecraft, and then Yaku took them and put them through Blender and detextured them and put them into Unity.
Oh wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's the second time we did it. The first time we did it was the Evolution was the theme.
Yeah, that game wasn't done in Unity. That was done with an open source Scum VM like thing called OpenSludge. But yeah, same graphic style.
Very cool. So the other crowdfunding thing that we wanted to touch on was that Tesla Breaks the World, which we're going to have Micah joining us at some stage down the track to talk about, was successfully funded, and we'll be moving ahead with development. So it's really nice, and congratulations to him.
Yeah, well done. I'm still a bit confused why it's got zombies in, but I'll go with it.
Yeah, I think it's just all about being silly and portraying Thomas Edison as someone who is happy to use the dead for his own means. I mean, that's okay, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I kind of feel sad for Edison's descendants, if he has any. They must be feeling quite put upon at the moment.
Of all the people talking about Tesla online, it's probably 0.001%. I imagine Edison's descendants really haven't noticed any change whatsoever.
Yeah, maybe.
I think the worst thing is a couple of rather negative Wikipedia edits.
I don't know. I thought that after the oatmeal thing, that there was a kind of fairly visible anti-Edison thing going on.
Obviously, from my viewpoint in Britain, Edison hasn't been particularly that well regarded anyway. Because I visited the first building on the planet that had electric lighting already, and his designs were taken by Edison and repatented over in America.
Yeah, I think he's meant to be a bit of an icon over in North America. People trying to double click him all the time. That was another joke. Thank you. So yeah, that's about all we were going to cover for this episode. Yako, Del, thanks for joining us. Was there anything else you guys wanted to talk about?
Peace rays.
Yeah, just standing up for Mr. Tesla there. But yeah, nothing more. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was fun.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been great having you. Thank you for coming on.
Sure.
So thanks for joining, everyone.
Thanks.